How did I become a GP? So I qualified from RCSI in 2011 and I applied for the GP scheme straight out of internship. And I was lucky enough to get a place on the RCSI GP scheme and I did my 4 years in and around Dublin. How did I come to the conclusion to be a GP? I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where, as a student, I really liked everything that I did. So, I would do psychiatry, and I go, God, that was really good. And I do, onto obstetrics, and I really like that as well. And I think it came to this kind of natural conclusion that I think I would really like to be a GP, and that's kind of where it came from. And then I suppose as I progressed through training, I realised that it was a much bigger entity, and actually that not only did I love the variety, but actually there was loads of other bits of it that I really liked as well. So the variety that I thought I liked became kind of only one of the things that I liked, when there was actually loads of things to be really fond of. When I finished the scheme, I did kind of multiple assistant jobs, and I always thought that I would want to work for somebody else, and I thought this was a really attractive thing, and it was at that time in my life. I really enjoyed it, and I think I got to a point then where I started to say, actually, do you know what, I really want to be my own boss, and I really not only do I want to be my own boss, but I'd actually be able for this, and I'd be well able for it. And I suppose then the seed was kind of planted that at some point I wanted to take over or to start up a practice. And I suppose the situation that we were in, my husband Brian was working in this practice in Drumcondra as an assistant, and the two gentlemen that owned the practice wanted to retire, and they approached Brian to see would myself and Brian take over the practice. And it wasn't anything we had really thought about before. We hadn't thought about taking over a practice as a husband and wife, and I suppose we got thinking about it and we decided that we'd go for it. So that's kind of how we came to be in the practice here. It was a long kind of slog. There was a lot of COVID happened in the middle of it. There was a lot of back and forward. There's a lot of legalities. There's a lot of financial things that have to, hoops that have to be jumped through in order to get yourself organised. But it's been profoundly a positive experience, and I would recommend it 100% every day of the week, definitely. The flexibility is something that's really only become apparent, I think, now. So I've a young family. I run a practice. And I think the autonomy, I suppose, that you have over your own day, to be able to kind of plan, what your week is going to look like, and I suppose to be able to plan what the practice is going to look like in a year's time or in 2 years' time, or how you're going to roll out something like the chronic disease management programme. That flexibility that you have anyway as a GP, but particularly when you run your own practice, is really, really exciting, and it's a really attractive part of general practice. I think the things I loved about general practice, I still really like them. The things that I thought I would like, I like. But there's been loads of things that I really didn't like, or that I thought I would hate, that I actually really enjoy. So, the HR side of it, the financial side of it, the practice management side of it, the having to, plan for the flu, the flu vaccine rollout, planning for the COVID vaccine rollout, all that kind of logistical stuff I didn't think I would like, and I've really enjoyed it. But I think one of the key things there, one of the key messages is that you surround yourself with people who know what they're doing. So I'm not a solicitor, I'm not an accountant. Pay for good advice from people who have been there before you. You're not the first person, you're not reinventing the wheel, you're not the first person to ever do this. So to surround yourself with people who really are very skilled in that area would be something I would really advise people to do. One of the lovely things about general practice is the privileged position that you're in. The fact that people at their worst feel that you're the person that they can come and speak to it's amazing. It's such a privilege to be in that position, and oftentimes you are dealing with their blood pressure or their stroke or their diabetes, but oftentimes you're dealing with whatever's happened to them in their life, and it may not be medical at all, and that's just as important, if not more important, to be honest. It's a better job than I ever really thought it would be. I knew clinically it would be really interesting, and the kind of the new patient every 15 minutes and the new issues and the chronicity of it, and following patients, following their problems. I knew I'd love the cradle-to-grave concept, the idea of looking after families, generations of families embedded in the community. But there's other parts to it as well that are really fascinating when you get involved in general practice. So I think if you have an inkling to go for it, if you think you would like it, I would say absolutely go for it.